What's going on, Surfer Squad? Here we are back again in Wasteland 3, and today I'm going to be going over all of the quirks and the backgrounds that I think will really help you out during the game and should be able to be used on all of the toughest content. If that interests you, then stay tuned. That's coming up next.
Pew, 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 pew. Whee.
Welcome back, all you gamers. So yeah, I'm going to put a list together of the ones that I really think should help you during this game. Should be able to be used on pretty much any level, from the earliest level to all the way to Supreme Jerk if you wanted to. But obviously this is down to preference, and if you wanted to make it a more roleplay stuff, then kind of pick whatever you want for your character. It does influence them a little bit, it can make them a little bit stronger in the game, but ultimately you can get through the game with any of these things on. That being said, I'm going to give you a list of the quirks and backgrounds that I feel help the most throughout Wastelands 3. So, let's crack on. So here we are at the customised character, and it's as if we're creating a new character from scratch as such. Now, the first one that I'm going to cover is this one just here, Explosive Damage Bonus, with the Pyromaniac. Now, it might not sound like much, but 15% extra damage on explosive damage is actually really huge. If you think about some of the explosive weapons you have in this game, like the javelin or the nuka-zuka, this is going to up them drastically, as well as the PDW-01, which is one of the best guns in the game. So if you're planning on using something that is explosive, there is a very good chance that using Pyromaniac may be the way to go for the background. A tried and tested one that I think is kind of a go-to choice. So say for example you were creating a new character and you wasn't really sure what to put on it, a one that you can never really go wrong with is Goat Killer. Critical chance plus 5%. Now, I don't know about you, but you can never go wrong with having a little bit more chance to do those big critical damages. So having a bit more crit chance about yourself is always a good thing, and this one is kind of a standardised one that if you wanted to create a character and you really weren't sure what to put on, this one is always a good choice. Just over here, and we have Grease Monkey. If you are creating a character for the sole purpose of taking out all of the mechanical stuff in the game, say for example you wanted a sniper that could sit at the back of the map and you'd never have to worry about robots as such, this is the thing for you. Bonus damage to robots 10%, bonus damage to vehicles 10%, you just can't go wrong with this background. This one right here, and it is my go-to for the melee class. If you like hitting things in the face, then Lethal Weapon is probably the best background choice for you, as it gives you 10% extra melee damage. This is really effective, especially later on when you get things like the exoskeleton suit armor sets that up the melee damage even more. Put this on your melee guy, make him tanky, make him able to do some really good damage, and he or she will go to work for you. Just over here, and we have Raider Hater. Now this one is kind of overlooked a little bit because, to be perfectly honest, it looks a little bit bland. It's not got much about it, it's only 10%, so people tend to overlook it. However, if you think about it, most of the enemies in the game are going to be of the human variety. So bonus damage to humans 10% does actually work out really effective overall during the game. So I would say Raider Hater can be a really strong choice for a background. Now at first glance, this one you would completely dismiss it because, to be perfectly honest, it's not going to up your damage, it's not going to make you any tankier, it doesn't look like it's the best thing in the game at all. However, in certain builds this can actually help you out quite a bit. Combat speed, basically, how can I summarise this? It kind of revolves around how far you will move on the map. So I believe per AP it kind of determines how far you can actually go, and it will use a little bit less AP. So for example, if you had really low combat speed, you would basically be able to move a few spaces and then use your move. If you had really high combat speed, you would be able to move half of the map as such and then use the move. So it does work out really well for those characters that you like to get around. This works extremely well on characters that tend to be able to shoot more than once, especially ones that I would say, such as the shotgun guy. If you can give him a -1 AP mag later on, he will take 2 AP per shot with high combat speed, things like this and this background will extremely help that kind of a build. Last up but not least, this one right here is quite good. It is not the be all and end all, and to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of the others do outweigh it, but penetration +2 does help you if you want to be able to just destroy those harder enemies that have the high armour. It is not a bad choice, but I do think quite a lot of the other damage ones tend to outweigh it. Right, so that basically summarises what I think are very possibly the best backgrounds in the game. If you find that you've got one that's different or you prefer one, then chuck a comment and let me know. Maybe I've overlooked something. But let's move on to the quirks. Now, putting quirks on your character can drastically change them. From the fact that they may not be able to get up again once they've been killed, to the fact that they can shoot again if they get a kill. They can make the difference between winning a battle and losing a battle. They are really strong, and some of them are definitely top tier, whereas others kind of more fun than anything else. So let's go through what could be the best ones. Now, first off, with myself, I would probably suggest not picking no quirk. I honestly think it's well worth having a quirk on each character just because it changes their playstyle a little bit, and like I said, some of them can definitely make them stronger. So first off the bat, and this one, like I said, not many people tend to take, but if you have a little look, on the previous one we had one that actually boosted combat speed by 0.2. So if you wanted to put Circus Freak on your build, I would recommend probably putting it on one that has that as well, and then you'll have 0.6 to combat speed. That way you might be able to put stats into other categories when you're actually creating your character and kind of deck them out a little bit all-roundy rather than putting too much into combat speed itself. This will definitely help you to get around the map, and it's a really nice quirk that I think not a lot of people tend to use. It's a little bit overlooked as such in my book, and I think you can make some really strong builds with this on. Now, one that I really enjoy, but I must admit it all depends on your playstyle and team. This one just here, Medical Marvel. So you get an extra 5% health basically, or conditioning per level, which is really good, especially if you've got someone that can level up a little bit faster. This works out really nicely. They will be your go-to character for being tanky. You should deck them out with pretty much full strength, the highest armor stuff, and basically go to town with making sure that they survive. But the reason you'll want them to survive is because they cannot be revived. So be careful if you put this on your build. I'm not entirely sure if I would try this on the toughest settings as such, like Supreme Jerk, but for the earlier gameplay stuff, I think this works really well on a single character in your team. Now, this one just here is a really nice one that is used if you're trying to create, basically if you want pure charisma, pure experience, bookworm and poindexter, you're going to be leveling out of this world. You will probably have to put a little bit of strength on your character to even it out and to make sure they actually have a tiny little bit of health. But this can make a fun character, and it can make them level ridiculously fast and give them a heck of a lot of skill points if you wanted one character to go down that path. Again, like I said earlier, explosive damage, it is very overpowered. And with this one you get fire damage as well. So Pyromaniac is an absolute great choice for one of your characters. If you put this along with the other one and got all of the explosive damage bonus, you would be able to absolutely wreck house. Do that and then chuck a few perks on later on and such, and you will be devastating your enemies. This is top tier, do not overlook it. Speaking of top tier, the next two are definitely in that category as well, and kicking it off we have this one just here, Sado Masochist. You have a thing for pain, receive 33% damage. However, your melee damage is 33% and your range damage is 33%. In some builds this can skyrocket your damage. I would really recommend this on a sniper build. It works extremely well. Now that they've fixed chain ambush, I could see this being a complete go-to, and your sniper will be absolutely devastating things. Chuck this on them and go to town. I definitely wouldn't recommend it on someone who's going to be getting into the thick of things in the middle of battle and taking on lots of enemies, because they will fall over. Now this one right here I think is very possibly the go-to quirk for pretty much everyone in the game at the moment. If you're trying to get kills and you've got a character that's got high damage, this perk is exceptional. Serial Killer. Gain 3 AP for each kill in combat. Now this only happens once per turn, so don't think if you get a kill you're going to get 3 AP and then you get a kill and you get another 3 AP. It will only up it once per turn. Overall, as it currently stands, I would say this is very possibly one of, if not the best quirk in the game at the moment, so don't overlook this. You'll definitely want it on at least 1 or 2 of your characters, just so that they can kind of get that easy AP, which as we know is kind of vital in this game and the most important stat as such, for mopping up ads and just getting those nice easy kills. Now just down here, this one is a little bit of a niche quirk because it either works or it doesn't. I find if you're in a really strong team, this can be really exceptional. You start combat with 2 AP for the first 2 turns. It's really good. But if you have a look, after the first 2 turns, lose 1 AP and minus 15% hit chance for 6 turns. The reason people don't pick this is because Serial Killer exists. If you think you're going to get the kills, it is much more preferable to get Serial Killer than it is to have this. But this one is still a fun thing to have, and if you think you can complete rounds within 1 or 2 turns, this is still an exceptional quirk to have. If you're trying to make a tank and you don't want to worry about any kind of resist whatsoever, then Waste Roamer is probably the way to go for you. It does have one drawback, which is the experience bonus is minus 15%, but overall it is still really good. If you have a look, it resists bleeding, poison, shock, burning and frozen 100%. If you don't want to worry about resists, you want to make a tank that will actually be a tank above all other tanks, then this may well be the way to go. Finally, again last but not least, this makes a really fun build in some cases. Now what you tend to do is you basically make sure you have a crazy drunk person on your team, which, let's face it, that sounds fun in itself, especially if you're trying to go the way of roleplay. This could be a fun quirk to put on. Way of the squeeze-ins. If you have a look, it gives you 50% damage whilst intoxicated or drunk, melee damage bonus minus 20, range damage bonus minus 20. All that basically means is if you're not drunk, you're gonna be kind of nerfed and a little bit useless. So you have to make sure that your guy is absolutely smashed all the time, he's hammered out of his face, and he's getting those nice damage, 50% damage while drunk bonus. I honestly think this can make some very unique and very fun builds. So especially if you want to try one that does a lot of damage, give this a try, make him drunk and see how you crack on with him. Now if I remember correctly, it does have one drawback, and that's that when you are intoxicated, I believe it takes away 2 AP from your character. So you will need to make sure that they are really high in AP and can actually get to where they're going and do some damage about them. So if they haven't got high AP, this may not be the way to go, because when you do make them drunk, they minus 2 AP from themselves for, I think it's a ridiculous amount of time, pretty much the entire length of the battle. I think it's something like 60 turns, so you will not be getting that 2 AP back. But they do get 25% extra melee damage again. So basically that would mean you'll get an extra 50% plus the 25%, which is quite a significant amount. Especially, like I said, if you're using some kind of an armor set like the exoskeleton, then you will be killing things, and it can make some crazy fun builds. Right guys and girls, that's basically the backgrounds and the quirks that I tend to use in my builds and the ones that I find most effective. If you've got a difference of opinion, chuck a comment. I'd love to find out what you guys and girls like to actually use in your builds. But for me, I find those most effective and I find they can actually change the complete game. Right guys and girls, as always, I hope that's helped some of you out a little bit. I hope it's kind of gave you a bit of insight into what I tend to use, and hopefully there'll be a few things on there that you didn't know about or you didn't use as such because you weren't sure what they did or you didn't like the looks of them. Maybe you'll give them a little try now. But as always, I hope you liked it. If you did, then why not drop a like, as that really helps the channel out. And if you're not part of the Sofa Squad, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon, and I'll be bringing you all the latest and greatest for Xbox and soon Xbox Series X content. As always guys and girls, take care. I'll see you all next day.